First question is going to come from Steve Popper.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I know you have a whole new roster, a lot of uncertainty, potential free agents, no draft picks yet. I guess just what do you hope to get done in these sessions? And the second part is what is the long gap that follows until the season will begin to implementing those plans?
Yeah, I think, that's a great question. I think, but the first part is all about building a foundation, getting to know the guys. Every time we have an opportunity to get together on the floor, I think there's benefit for us. And so we've had a lot of guys come in over the last 6 weeks, so that's been beneficial. The second question is, as of right now, we don't know when next season will begin, but there's obviously a lot of work to be done between now and then. So it's a little unusual in terms of, players, I think, have a routine that they get used to in terms of when the next season is coming. And so it's a little different now. So this has been good for us because we've been off for so long, and we've been able to get a lot out of it. So I like the fact that we've been able to get together. And of course, we think we have a date for the draft, and that'll be helpful. And then free agency, hopefully we'll find that out soon as well.
Next question comes from Brian Mahoney.
Hey, Tom, we thought we were talking a little bit earlier. Were you just having so much fun you just kept right on going and worked for 4 hours or something like that? Or
Yeah, no, we've had, usually the first day there's teaching that goes on. So it was a good first day in terms of what we were able to get accomplished. And, it took us a while to get out here, we stayed in the city. So the start time was a little delayed for us as well. So I apologize for us being a little later than we thought we would be.
All right. The next question comes from Ian Begley.
Hey, Tom, thanks for doing this. I don't know how much you can get into, but now that you've had a chance to spend some time around RJ Barrett on the court, what have your impressions been of him based on, those interactions and the time you guys have shared in the gym?
Yeah, no, it's been great. And obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. These are the initial steps. And so I think the off season is critical for any young player. And so obviously you could get going on the development piece, which I think is critical, but that holds true for all our players. But he's been great. He's been eager. He's working hard. And if he does that day after day, he will improve quite a bit.
All right. Steph Bondi gets the next one. Steph, you need to unmute.
My bad. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Hey, Coach. Was there one thing that stood out to you today, whether it was a trend or a player or something like that from the first day? And also getting back to RJ, when you say he's going to develop this year, is there a particular phase of his game that really needs to grow to take that next step?
Yeah, well, I think for all players, the off season is usually a time where you can add to your game, and whether you're a first-year player, a second-year player, or a 10-year player, you're always trying to add and learn, and so that's how you improve. And you always see, tremendous growth, from year to year from a lot of the veteran players in the league, and you never want to stop learning. So I think that's been good. I think, attitude and approach by the whole team is critical for us, in terms of team improvement as well, because it's not only the challenge of bringing the best out of yourself, but it's bringing the best out of the group as well. So, we're putting a new system in, and that takes time. So I think we're benefiting from that also.
Next one comes from Berman.
Yeah. Hey, Tom. How are you?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Just a couple of things. You mentioned teaching today. What was like one of the central themes to your message on this kind of first day of a group practice? And as not just RJ, you talked about RJ, but what about Kevin? What have you seen from him through the individual workouts? And, even today, he obviously had a struggle of a second season.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's no magic formula where you're going to get everything done in one day. I think it's about establishing and building the right habits to be successful. And so you're putting in the foundation of an offensive system and a defensive system and how you're going to go about your business. I think it's all about building the right habits so the team can improve and get better as time goes on. And so, Kevin's come in and he's done quite a bit of work. And, I think the same thing. I'm getting to know him. He's getting to know me. And it will take some time, but I like what he's done so far.
Next question is Mike Vorkanoff.
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I was wondering just who's there with you and who's not from the roster, and just how are you getting everyone together and in terms of I guess putting them back into a group workspace after I think what are we like 6 months apart from the last game?
Yeah, and that's been a challenge. I think and I don't want to get into the specifics because this is all voluntary, and we've had a great turnout thus far. And there was phase one where, we weren't in a hotel and we had a, terrific turnout for that. But this next phase, obviously, where there's contact involved, some guys, weren't comfortable with that. And so we totally understood that part of it. But they've also come in prior to that and spent quite a bit of time, which was very beneficial for me because it's given me a chance to get to know them. And sort of just establish, how we'll be going about our business, and also getting a new staff in and giving us an opportunity to work together as well.
Tim Bontemps with the next one.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. You've obviously made your bones in the league on the defensive end. And I was curious over the past couple of years as you've had time to kind of study things, obviously three-point shots have really shot up dramatically. And, the offenses in the league have really kind of taken off. How have you seen teams adjusting to that across the league, and kind of where do you see defenses going in terms of trying to slow down kind of the runaway freight train that offenses around the league are?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot more shooting on the floor. As you mentioned, the average amount of threes have gone up significantly over the last 3 years. And we're seeing the personnel on the floor is a lot different. We're looking at usually a point guard, 3 wings, and a center now. And it's more or less positionless basketball. So I think you're seeing changing defenses some, but I think also people have put a premium on, players that can defend multiple positions. So I think that's creeping into it as well. But there's, the offenses are, they're putting up, we're seeing scores in the playoffs that, we haven't seen before. So it's pretty significant.
Alex Mangini with the next one.
Hey, Coach. I know it's early, but thinking long term, what do you envision as the identity for this team in terms of the style you'll preach on both sides of the ball?
Well, again, I think a big part of that will be, who the personnel is, and then we're going to play to our strengths and cover up our weaknesses. But the foundation will be the defense, the rebounding, low turnovers, and sharing the ball. And then, offensively, obviously, you're trying to get as many easy baskets as you can. You're also trying to get to the free throw line, and you're also trying to create as many corner threes as possible. But whatever the strengths of our club is, that's the way we have to play. And I think whatever gives us the best chance to win on any given night, that's playing smart.
All right, back to Ian Begley.
Hey, Tom, just on Johnny Bryant, your associate head coach, how much did you know Johnny at all before this process of him getting hired? And what do you think he brings to your staff? And just in general with the staff, because there's him and Kenny, a couple of guys that I assume you hadn't known in depth before. How has it been just getting to know those guys, working with those guys?
Well, it's been great because Johnny's someone I got to know a little bit when I was traveling around. I have great respect for the people in Utah. I've worked with Dennis Lindsay in Houston, and I've gotten to know Quinn Snyder over the years, and I have great respect for what they've done. And obviously when Scott Layden was there along with Jerry Sloan, they've got a great program there, and they've had it that way for a long time. But the thing that stood out when I went out to Utah and spent time with them was Johnny's teaching ability. So, when I heard that we would have an opportunity to hire him, and, I have spent some time with him prior to us hiring him, I've come away very impressed with him. And Kenny is someone I've always talked to over the years about the upcoming draft, but I never really saw him teaching on the floor, but I had heard great things about him. So obviously getting to know him has been a big plus also. And for us to have the opportunity to hire both those guys, I think adds a lot to the staff. And then, of course, having, Woody and Andy Greer, I'm very, very pleased. I think we have great teachers on our staff.
All right. Mark Berman. You have to unmute, Berman. This is deja vu all over again. Berman. All right, we're going to go on to Steph Bondi then.
All right, can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. Just on the assistant lines, this is the first time, though, you've worked with Mike Woodson and Brian and Kenny Payne. You're used to having a staff that you really have a background with. How has that adjustment been? And in regards to Kenny Payne, he has worked a lot with Kevin Knox before. Are you hoping that Kenny can maybe unlock something that maybe was missing from Kevin before?
Yeah, and not just with Kevin, but, with all the players. And, of course, I've known Woody a long time. We have a lot of mutual friends. So getting a chance to be around him on a day-to-day basis has been great. And, I love the experience that he's bringing to our staff. But Kenny is someone, like I said, I've known John Calipari a long time. And every year I would get Kenny's input on all the draft candidates. And I always thought he was very insightful and he knew the players extremely well. And so I thought when we had the opportunity to get him, that just made a whole lot of sense on a lot of different levels.
All right, we're going to take two more questions, guys. Steph Bondi with one of them.
Hey, Coach. I know you said you're implementing a new system, both offensively and defensively. Can you give us sort of an idea what that system is going to be yet? Or, how different or how similar is it going to be to what you've run before in Chicago and Minnesota?
Well, I think, you look at the things that you think will fit the team. And, I've had a lot of different teams. There hasn't been one particular team. In Chicago, I had many different versions. Obviously, when you have a player like Derek, that allows you to do different things. And then after he got hurt, we had to change and adjust. And then we had, Joakim and Jimmy Butler. And then, of course, Minnesota was different with the personnel that we had there. So this personnel is different. So offensively, we'll build our system more towards what the strengths of our club here is. And then defensively, of course, there's things that, you believe in that, that you have to establish. And it starts with fundamentals on both offense and defense. You have to build your base first. And that's what you want to spend time on. Once you build your foundation, then you could determine whether, you're going to blitz a pick and roll, whether you're going to ice a pick and roll, whether you're going to switch a pick and roll, and you're probably going to do a version of all three. And so, we'll take a look at it. We'll figure out the things that we're really good at, and we'll build that way. But it's right now we're still digging through, and as I mentioned, we still don't know what the personnel of the club will be. And technically this is still part of last year, so the off season really hasn't come yet. And, we don't know when the beginning next season will come, when training camp will be and all that, so we can lock into the player development aspect of it. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right, and our last question comes from Mike Vorkanoff.
Tom, you were saying this is technically a part of the 2019-20 season. Obviously, you don't know what your 2021 roster is going to be like. So as you're kind of like implementing your systems and trying to do the fundamentals and all those types of things, like how does it feel coaching in kind of this like in between no man's land part of the season where everything is kind of up in the air and it's not last year and it's not next year?
Well, and I think that's a big challenge of the NBA is how quickly can you adapt, because things are always changing in the league, whether it's trade, free agency, an injury. You have to adapt quickly. So, and for us, the focus has to be on the guys that are here, and that's what we're doing. So every day we're thinking about how we can improve as a team and how we can improve individually, and we want that to be our focus. We want to stack days together. We know it starts with fundamentals. We have to build that base, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll keep you updated on future media sessions during these OTAs. Have a good night.